Hello guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video I'm going to show you how a complete RISC-V based system can be implemented on an FPGA, starting from the Linux development environment and ending with custom instructions inside the processor. The main idea is not simply to place a RISC-V CPU inside an FPGA. We want to build a complete system around it. This includes the processor, memory, communication bus, camera interface, VGA output, image processing hardware, and finally a modified compiler capable of understanding our own instructions. The development environment used in this implementation is based on Ubuntu Linux. Xilinx Vivado is used for RTL simulation, synthesis, implementation, and FPGA programming. For software development, the RISC-V GNU cross-compiler translates C programs into executable instructions for the RISC-V processor. The processor selected here is the Ibex RISC-V Core, configured for the RV32 IMC architecture, and implemented on the Nexys 4 DDR FPGA board. Once the processor is running, the next stage is system integration. A Wishbone interconnect allows the processor, RAM, camera, VGA, and additional hardware blocks to communicate. The practical application used in this project is image processing. An OV7670 camera captures the image. The image is stored in memory, and a Laplacian filter is used for edge detection. Finally, the RISC-V instruction set itself is extended. New hardware operations are added to the ALU, and the GNU toolchain is modified so that software can directly call these new instructions. So the complete flow moves from Linux to compiler to FPGA processor to SoC integration, and finally to hardware acceleration. Before implementing the processor, we need to understand why RISC-V is a good architecture for this kind of FPGA project. RISC-V is an open instruction set architecture. This is especially useful when the goal is processor customization, because the architecture allows designers to introduce instruction extensions without developing an entirely new processor from scratch. In this project, the selected configuration is RV32IMC. RV32 means that the general purpose registers and basic data path are 32 bits wide. The I represents the base integer instruction set. The M extension provides integer multiplication and division, which is particularly useful because convolution algorithms depend heavily on multiply and accumulate operations. The C extension provides compressed instructions. The selected implementation is the Ibex Core. Ibex is useful for experimentation because its internal architecture is relatively understandable and modifiable. Important sections such as instruction fetch, instruction decoding, execution, ALU operations, and write back can be accessed directly in the RTL source. The thesis describes Ibex as having a two-stage pipeline. The first stage handles instruction fetch, while the second stage combines instruction decode and execution. This simple organization is important when adding custom instructions because we need to understand exactly where an instruction is recognized and where the associated arithmetic operation takes place. RISC-V also uses fixed 32-bit base instruction formats. Registers such as RS1, RS2, and RD maintain consistent locations across instruction formats, helping simplify the decoder. So RISC-V gives us the instruction set flexibility, while Ibex gives us a practical RTL implementation that can actually be modified. That combination makes it a strong platform for experimenting with FPGA-based processor acceleration. Now we can prepare the development environment. The implementation described in the thesis uses three main components: Ubuntu 16.04, Xilinx Vivado 2019.2, and the RISC-V GNU toolchain. Linux is used because many open source processor projects depend on shell scripts, build systems, Git repositories, and development tools that integrate naturally into a Linux environment. After installing Ubuntu, the next step is installing Vivado. Vivado performs RTL simulation, synthesis, implementation, timing analysis, bit stream generation, and programming of the Nexys 4 DDR FPGA. The third component is the RISC-V cross-compiler. This is important because the computer running Ubuntu is normally an x86 machine, while the target processor inside the FPGA is RISC-V. Therefore, we need a cross-compiler that runs on the computer but generates machine code for the RISC-V processor. The GNU toolchain repository is cloned, its required packages are installed, and the compiler is configured for RV32IMC. The installation prefix used in the project is /opt/RISC-V. So /opt/RISC-V/bin is also added to the system path. The important configuration command specifies the architecture as RV32IMC. After that, running make builds the compiler. Installation can then be verified using the RISC-V 32-unknown-elf-gcc command. Once this compiler is available, we can compile C programs written for the Ibex processor. One particularly important output in this project is the vmem memory file. The compiled application can be transformed into memory contents that are used to initialize the instruction memory inside the FPGA. So Linux becomes the development host, GCC generates the processor software, and Vivado converts the RTL hardware into a working FPGA implementation. With the environment ready, we can now implement the Ibex processor itself. The first step is obtaining the Ibex source repository. In the thesis implementation, the FPGA example based on the RTA7 structure is used as a starting point, with top_RTA7.sv serving as the top-level RTL module. A new RTL project is created in Vivado, and the required Ibex source files and dependencies are added according to the project hierarchy. The processor requires memory for both instructions and processed data. Therefore, RAM must be initialized with the software that we want the processor to execute. To demonstrate this process, a simple LED application written in C is compiled using the RISC-V GNU compiler. The compiler generates a file called led.vmem. The thesis then converts the file extension to .mem so that it can be used in the Vivado design. Inside the Verilog RAM module, the $readmem function loads the contents of this memory file during initialization. Before programming the physical FPGA, the system should always be simulated. A test bench verifies that instructions are fetched correctly, executed sequentially, and that the LED output receives the expected values. The example alternates the LED pattern between hexadecimal A and hexadecimal 5. In binary, these correspond to alternating LED patterns, making the result very easy to observe. Once simulation is successful, the FPGA constraint file is added for the Nexys 4 DDR board. Vivado then performs synthesis and implementation and generates the final bit stream. After programming the FPGA, the LEDs physically reproduce the pattern generated by the C program. At this point, we have something very important. C code compiled under Linux is now running on a RISC-V processor that physically exists as logic inside the FPGA. Having a processor running on an FPGA is only the first part of building an SoC. The processor needs a structured way to communicate with memory and peripherals. In this project, that communication system is based on the Wishbone Bus. Wishbone defines a standard interface between masters and slaves. Some of the most important signals are the address output, data input, write enable, cycle, strobe, and acknowledge signals. Consider a read transaction. First, the master places the required address on the address bus. Write enable remains low because this is a read operation. The master then asserts the cycle and strobe signals, indicating that a valid bus transaction has started. The addressed slave detects the request and, when the requested data is ready, asserts the acknowledge signal. The slave places the data on the input data bus and the master captures it. After the transfer is completed, cycle and strobe are deasserted and the acknowledge signal returns low. A write operation is very similar. The major difference is that the master sets write enable high and places valid data on the output bus. The slave receives the data and acknowledges the transfer. The system becomes more interesting when several masters and peripherals are connected. Instead of using dedicated point-to-point connections for everything, a shared wishbone interconnect is used. The interconnect performs address decoding and arbitration. If multiple masters request access to the same shared resource, the arbiter determines which master receives control. This creates a scalable SoC architecture, where additional modules can be attached without completely redesigning processor communication. And this bus becomes the backbone for integrating our camera, VGA, RAM, processor, and image processing accelerator. Now we can move from a standalone processor to a complete RISC-V system on chip. The basic Ibex implementation does not provide the complete peripheral structure required for our image processing system. Therefore, a Wishbone-compatible version of the core is integrated into a shared bus architecture. One important point from the thesis implementation is that RAM acts as the main shared slave, while several functional modules can become bus masters and directly access that memory. The RISC-V processor requires instruction access and data access. The camera also needs memory access, because incoming pixels must be written into RAM. The VGA controller needs access, because it must read image data for display. The Laplacian accelerator can also access RAM to read pixels and write processed results. All of these transactions pass through the Wishbone interconnect. The interconnect therefore has two important responsibilities. First, it performs address management, so that requests reach the correct target. Second, it performs arbitration when more than one master wants to use the shared bus. The system can also include simpler peripherals, such as LEDs and GPIO. GPIO allows software running on the RISC-V processor to read switches or control outputs by accessing memory-mapped registers. This is what makes an SoC different from simply placing a processor on an FPGA. The CPU becomes only one element of a larger architecture. The processor can execute software, but dedicated hardware modules can operate alongside it. This means that operations that are easy to implement in software can remain in C, while performance-critical operations can be moved into FPGA hardware. That hardware-software flexibility is one of the most useful properties of an FPGA-based RISC-V SoC, and in the following stage, we use this architecture to connect a real camera and VGA display to the system. Now we can add real image data to the RISC-V system. The camera used in the project is the OV7670 CMOS camera module. It supports VGA resolution of 640 by 480 pixels, as well as lower resolutions such as QVGA at 320 by 240. The camera can operate at up to 30 frames per second and supports formats including RGB, YUV, and YCbCr. Configuration is performed through the SCCB interface, which is functionally similar to I2C. The camera sends pixel data to the FPGA, where the information is written into memory. For the image processing implementation presented in the thesis, the important flow is very simple. First, the camera captures the scene. Second, incoming pixel data is stored in RAM. Third, the RISC-V processor or hardware accelerator reads those pixels and performs image processing. Fourth, processed pixels are written back into RAM. And finally, the VGA module reads the processed image and generates the synchronization and RGB signals required by the monitor. Memory size becomes an important practical consideration here. An image contains a large number of pixels. For example, a QVGA frame at 320 by 240 already contains 76,800 pixels. Therefore, the default memory configuration used for a simple LED program is not sufficient for storing a complete image. In the project, the memory allocation is increased by modifying the linker script, specifically the link.ld configuration. After the camera and VGA blocks are validated, Wishbone signals are added so that they can participate in the complete SoC. At this point, the FPGA is no longer just running a processor demonstration. It is capturing real video, storing image data in memory, processing that data and displaying the result. That gives us the platform required for the Laplacian edge detection experiment. Now we reach the main image processing accelerator. The Laplacian filter is an edge detector. The kernel used in this project is a 3x3 matrix with a center coefficient of 4, -1 on the top, bottom, left and right positions, and 0 in the 4 corners. Conceptually, the output emphasizes rapid changes in pixel intensity. When the intensity of neighboring pixels changes sharply, the Laplacian result becomes large, allowing edges to appear prominently in the output image. The first implementation is a dedicated hardware IP. The block contains 4 important sections: a Wishbone interface, a state machine, an address generator, and a calculation unit. The address generator selects the required pixels from RAM. The state machine controls the sequence of operations. The calculation unit multiplies each pixel by the corresponding kernel coefficient and accumulates the result. According to the implementation described in the thesis, one output pixel requires 9 processing states, because the 3x3 convolution needs 9 input values. After the 9th operation, the final result is written back into RAM through Wishbone. The benefit of dedicated hardware becomes obvious when we compare execution time. The software Laplacian implementation requires approximately 66,649,500 clock cycles and about 1.33 seconds. The hardware implementation requires approximately 1,869,750 cycles and only 0.037 seconds. That corresponds to approximately 35 times faster processing. Of course, hardware acceleration is not free. The hardware implementation requires additional FPGA resources and an extra DSP unit. But this experiment demonstrates one of the main advantages of FPGA systems. A computationally expensive software algorithm can be converted into dedicated hardware and accelerated dramatically. Next, instead of creating a separate peripheral, we will place acceleration directly inside the RISC-V processor itself. This is the most interesting part of the project, adding our own instructions to RISC-V. A custom instruction requires modification on both the software side and the hardware side. On the compiler side, the GNU RISC-V toolchain must understand the new opcode. In the implementation described in the thesis, the main files modified inside the binutils portion of the toolchain are RISC-V-, opc.c and RISC-V-, opc.h. The new instruction definition includes information such as its name, operands, match value, and mask. After modifying these files, the toolchain is rebuilt so that the assembler recognizes the custom instructions. But compiler support alone is not enough. The processor instruction decoder must also recognize the new opcode, and the ALU must contain the hardware required to execute it. The project introduces two important ideas. The first custom instruction is used to initialize convolution kernel values. The second performs the multiply-accumulate operation in parallel. This is particularly useful because convolution repeatedly multiplies neighboring pixels by kernel values and adds the results. Instead of performing these operations sequentially in software, additional DSP hardware can execute multiplications in parallel. The thesis implementation packs grayscale pixel information into the processor operands and sends them into the modified ALU. The custom instructions can then be called from C using inline assembly. There is also an interesting solution for fractional kernels. Ibex in this configuration does not provide floating point support. For the smooth filter, values such as 1/9 are therefore scaled by 16 before being stored. After the MAC operation, the hardware performs an arithmetic right shift by 4 bits, effectively dividing the result by 16. This demonstrates something powerful. We are modifying the compiler, decoder, and ALU together, creating a hardware operation that software can call like a processor instruction. Finally, we can compare the different implementation approaches and summarize the complete workflow. The first method is the pure software Laplacian filter, running on the RISC-V processor. This implementation required approximately 66.6 million clock cycles and 1.33 seconds. The dedicated hardware Laplacian IP produced the largest performance improvement. It required approximately 1.87 million cycles and only 0.037 seconds, making it roughly 35 times faster than the software implementation. The custom instruction approach sits between those two extremes. The Laplacian implementation using a custom instruction required approximately 23.75 million cycles and 0.474 seconds. A more flexible custom kernel implementation required approximately 25.1 million cycles and about 0.501 seconds. So there is a clear engineering trade-off. Dedicated hardware provides the highest performance because the architecture is optimized for one specific operation. Software requires fewer hardware resources and provides maximum programmability, but execution is much slower. Custom instructions provide an interesting middle ground. They preserve a software programming model while allowing computationally expensive operations to execute using specialized hardware inside the processor. The complete practical workflow therefore looks like this. Start with Linux and install Vivado and the RISC-V GNU toolchain. Compile a simple C program and generate the memory initialization file. Implement and simulate Ibex. Program the Nexys for DDR FPGA. Add the Wishbone interconnect and peripherals. Integrate the OV7670 camera and VGA display. Implement and verify the image processing algorithm. Then identify the computational bottleneck, modify the RISC-V compiler, extend the instruction decoder and ALU, rebuild the toolchain, and benchmark the result. The main takeaway is simple. FPGA-based RISC-V gives us the flexibility of software together with the possibility of creating application-specific hardware acceleration. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Please share, like, and comment below. Also subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos.